Morning, everyone. You guys have made it to the day 7 of the gratitude challenge, so it's nice to see everyone. I can't believe it's already been. We've gone through the 7 days. Time goes by quickly, but just wanted to give a quick recap, and then we'll get into this morning's practice. So this week we really learned about 3 different practices: gratitude, prayer, and meditation. So when we take the time to express what we're grateful for, what's going well with our life, that gives us the opportunity just to rewire our brain. So I had mentioned earlier that as humans, we're born with a negativity bias, and that means we just remember the bad things more than the good things. And that probably served us well maybe hundreds of years ago. It's less useful of a feature now. So now when we take the time just to remember what we're grateful for, we can start to approach others in our day with a little bit more ease. So we're not quite as anxious, and we expect good things as well too. So we really just raise our energy. We learned that prayer is a way of having a conversation with our higher power or the divine, and it doesn't need to be formal. It could be a conversation that you have throughout the day. And really what that does is it lets your higher power know that you're there, know that you're listening, and it also helps you articulate areas in your life where you might need a little bit guidance. So it gives you that opportunity to call in that inner wisdom. And when I say higher power, that's whatever resonates with you. It could be God, goddess, just your inner wisdom, higher self, nature. It doesn't really matter. It's whatever works for you. So prayer is our way to communicate to our higher power. And then when we meditate, that's our way of finding stillness and silence, so we can actually hear what's coming back. So we really do need to create that space in the morning or really any time that works for you, but where we just get still and silent, and we can kind of start to observe our thoughts. We get a sense of where we are in our mind. We can start to choose what thoughts we engage in. So that's really where that story, the tale of the 2 wolves, comes from. It's we have a choice of which thoughts that we want to engage in. So really all of those practices help to contribute to a greater sense of ease, harmony, connection with others, connection with a greater life force, connection with the earth. So it really reminds me of a quote that you guys have probably heard if you're in my yoga classes or get my newsletter that I've been saying a lot, but it's from the philosopher William Durant, and it's, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit." So it's all of these things that we take the time for really truly shapes the person that we become and the life we lead. And that's why I just think it's really important to try to, hopefully you guys continue on with some of these practices on your own, because they really do help to cultivate a sense of ease. So today we will start with our meditation practice just as we normally do. Today we're going to do an open awareness practice. So we've used our breath as an anchor in previous practices to help keep our mind focused, and we are going to begin with doing that as well. But this time we're going to let anything come into our consciousness, but we're going to choose not to engage with it. So what that means is when we observe our thoughts, so with our typical meditations, we observe the thoughts, but then we bring the focus back to the breath. So this is if you're going to imagine that the mind is a clear blue sky. You'll just see the thoughts go by, but you also might hear the sounds or smells if somebody's cooking near you. All of these things are just different things that are coming into our consciousness, just like thoughts. So we can observe them, but we don't need to engage with them. So it's really trying to keep that mind like a blank slate and just letting things kind of pass in and out of our consciousness without attaching or fusing or holding on to any one thing. And this is definitely a little bit more challenging than the awareness of breath meditation. So if you find that your mind is starting to go all over the place, just bring the focus back to the breath. So to get started, you can get in your meditation posture and closing your eyes. And to start, just as most meditation, we are going to start with the breath, because that's just a great way of starting to turn inward, starting to anchor into your body. You can just start to notice your inhales and your exhales. And we'll just spend a moment or 2 here. Maybe you start to observe one part of the body where you can feel the breath manifest, the chest rising and falling, or maybe starting at the belly. observe how body and breath are working together. Now maybe feel how your hands feel in your lap, or how your sit bones feel as they're connected to either your cushion or your chair. Now see if you can get a sense of the perimeter of your body. Where you end and everything else begins. Now imagine there is no perimeter. It's not quite as defined. How does that feel? Now just open your awareness. And so you become aware of everything, but not attached to anything. And so thoughts are no different than the sounds you might hear in your house, the smells, the sensations that you feel in your body. They are all just different stimuli coming in and out of your consciousness. And you're not any of these things, but you're the observer. You're just noticing them. And if you find yourself attaching to some sensation or thought, notice what happens when you do. Just observe it. Where does it go? It's almost like a pin pricking a balloon. It kind of just dissipates. Remember, you're aware of everything, but not fused to anything. You're the observer. All these various sensations, and thoughts, and stimuli that are just coming in and out of your consciousness. For the last minute, you can just begin again. So no matter where you were in the meditation, you can just start fresh, just like it was that first moment. Now start to come out of this meditation the same way we came in. So you can just start to bring the focus back to the breath. You can give your legs a little bit of a rub. And slowly begin to open your eyes. And you can start to take a look around. And just reorient yourself back. So that meditation, the open awareness meditation, it helps us to cultivate awareness, of course, of the subtleties of everything that's happening, but also some discernment as well. So choosing, again, not to attach to the different things that come up. So remember yesterday we learned that we can't really control external events. We can only, if we want to change the outcome, the only thing we have is our response. And that's why meditation is just such a useful practice. So before we get into the gratitude, I did just want to share one more story, one more parable, and it's one of my favorites. And it's really about equanimity, and that's really one of the things that we're trying to cultivate with meditation. So the story is the tale of the Chinese farmer. So in a village in China, there was a farmer, and he had a son, and their one horse ran away. So all of the neighbors came over and they're like, "Oh, that's terrible that you lost your horse." And the farmer said, "Maybe." And then the next day, the horse came back with a steed of other wild horses. Now they had about 6 horses. The neighbors came over to congratulate him. They were like, "That's great. Now you have all of these horses." And the farmer said, "Maybe." Then the next day, the son was trying to tame one of the wild horses. The son got kicked off the horse, thrown onto the ground, and broke his leg. The neighbors came to the farmer and they said, "That's terrible what happened to your son. We're so sorry. That's awful." The farmer said, "Maybe." And then the next day, a bunch of the men came to recruit boys for the army. There was a raging war going on. But when they saw that the son had a broken leg, they just kept going, so the son wasn't recruited. The neighbors came to the farmer and they said, "That's great, your son wasn't recruited." And he said, "Maybe." So the point in this story is that we really don't know what's good or bad. And I think one more quote, as you see I like quotes, it's from Kurt Vonnegut, and it's, "The truth is, we know so little about life. We don't really know what the good news is and what the bad news is." And that's really one of the things that we can start to kind of cultivate with this practice. We have a little bit of faith in the divine unfolding of our life. We have gratitude for what we currently have. And meditation allows us to kind of become the observer, so we're not caught up in everything that comes as either good or bad, but we can take a little bit more of an observational approach. We cultivate that sense of equanimity. So that's one of my favorite stories. It's one that I have to remind myself of, not getting attached to outcomes quite so much and kind of just witnessing the unfolding of events. So next, we will start our gratitude. So if you want to, we'll take about 5 minutes for our gratitude journal. So if you want to grab that. We can take about 1 more minute. Okay, so we'll wrap up with gratitude. So I will read our prayer for the day, and this prayer is honoring the spark by Pixie Lighthorse, so prayers of honoring. Thank you for this beautiful day of creative fire. We're so grateful to be alive and seeking wellness together. Light in us a great flame of understanding. When we hesitate and doubt, amplify your radiance throughout our energy centers. Let us be lanterns for your cause. We see your beauty, sweet spirits, reflected back at us in the tiny new flower heads and shimmering petals. We recognize new life everywhere, and in it, our own capacity to blossom and radiate life energy too. We feel the warmth of your subtle sunshine and can be confident that we warm the hearts of others when we shine our lights, acting as the generative and magnificent instruments we were designed to be. We know that creativity is the way. We hear your call to make beauty in the world and leave a trail of rainbows in our wake. Help us face our challenges head on with innovation. Help us save this beautiful Earth Mother and ourselves by our wits and our willing hands and hearts. Help us value that we are living organisms who can give back as much as we take. Remind us of what ignites us, what inspires us to mimic your minute-to-minute acts of creation. Give to us everything we need to believe in miracles and magic, and the patience to wait for them to unfold in front of our apprehensive eyes. Show us how to stay lit as we come out from our dark caverns of fear. Release our trepidations and put your creative power to work in us. Move our hands across the paper, our brushes across the canvas, our bows across the strings. Infuse our weary hearts with the faith we need to carry forward. Not like soldiers warring tirelessly for the cause, but like light beams who have already reached their destination before our minds can even imagine it. So that was our prayer of the day. And so I just want to thank everybody for making the time this week and coming to practice with me. If you have any questions about any of the practices, please let me know. I would love to continue to offer more like this. I'll be sending a short survey out probably in the next day or two, that if you could take just a minute to fill it out, I would appreciate that, because I'd love to learn what you got out of this challenge and also what else you're interested in that could also be of value. So I'd appreciate that as well too. And I just wanted to thank everyone again, and I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. And if you have any questions,